The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Munn, and I'm with the League of Education Voters. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to our free online webinar series, Lunchtime LEVinar. We started this series over 3 years ago to share information and build knowledge on important and timely issues. We're pleased to offer these webinars thanks to the generous support of our sponsor, the Boeing Company. Today, we will hear from Lennon and David Beard from Schools Out Washington to learn more about expanded learning, its role in helping students succeed and grow, and how you can help make this happen. David Beard is the Education Policy and Advocacy Director for Schools Out Washington, often called SAWA. Originally from Pierce County, he got his bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Washington and his master's of science in social work from the University of Texas. Throughout his career, he's been an advocate for children and families. After working as the policy director at the Washington State Council for Children and Families, he spent 5 years in the D.C.-Baltimore area where he worked with the Pew Charitable Trust and the Maryland Advocates for Children and Youth on education issues. That's where I met David Beard. He very graciously spent a significant amount of time helping the League of Education Voters bring a group of 10 people to see how the work was being implemented in reducing suspension and expulsion, and particularly the disproportionality in the suspension and expulsion and discipline policies. So it's been awesome to have him back here in the state of Washington. Stephanie is SAWA's Policy and Advocacy Coordinator. Originally from Michigan, she attended New York University and the University of Michigan, earning her BA in journalism and social anthropology. She also studied in England, Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda before relocating to Seattle in 2009. She has spent her career working with refugee and immigrant populations in areas including direct refugee resettlement, workforce development, advocacy, and communications. Past local employers include JFS Refugee and Immigrant Service Centers, Asian Counseling and Referral Service, Neighborhood House, the Refugee and Immigrant Children's Program, One America, and the City of Tukwila. She earned her Master's of Public Administration from Seattle University in 2016, specializing in government and public policy. I'd like to spend a couple of minutes talking about some housekeeping items before we begin with our speakers. You'll notice a chat function on the right side of your screen. This is a space for you to pose questions to us. Feel free to ask those questions anytime during the presentations, and I will also interject a reminder to have you ask questions. And we will as always, we will spend about 20 minutes talking and then 10 minutes of Q&A. Feel free to send any feedback about the webinar quality to us, either via the chat on the right or email us at info@educationvoters.org. I'd like to welcome David and Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here today. So on our first slide, we're just going to talk a little bit about who Schools Out Washington is and why we are here to talk about expanded learning. So SAWA is the statewide after-school network. There is now one in all 50 states thanks to the CS Mott Foundation. So we function as an intermediary organization between after-school and summer providers and critical constituencies. So that could be anything from school districts to local governments to parents, and of course kids, because all of our work is about the kids that our programs are serving. So we work with programs in a variety of ways, including professional development, our quality work, which David will talk about later, and really just promoting accountability and brokering and leveraging resources. So getting programs and communities connected with the resources they need to do their work better and to serve kids better. We also work to promote policy. It's David and I's main role. So we work locally, statewide, and somewhat at the federal level, really trying to promote policies that are equitable, that are moving the needle on kids' education, be it during the school day or after school and in the summer. Next slide. So Expanded learning, what are the facts? Why are we here? So we all know that young people don't stop learning just because they're not in a classroom in front of a teacher. Their education can be all day, all year, and only 20% of a child's waking hours are actually spent in a classroom. So we know and truly believe that what happens the rest of the day really, really matters, and that all of that time can be high quality, that it can be engaging, that it can be fun, and that kids can really gain a lot from those after school and summer programs. So we know that if you have a kid who's really engaged in an after school program, they're actually more likely to be engaged in school. Their attendance rates will go up, which, as we all know, means high school graduation rates go up. And there's sort of a myriad of other benefits that come from having kids doing something that is interesting and different, and something that allows people who may not learn well in, say, a biology class, that they can get in, say, a hands-on eco field program, and they can actually get really engaged in science that way. So you're reaching kids where they're at, where their interests are, and allowing kids to vote with their feet so they can choose the programs that interest them. And it's also a great resource, as we know, for working parents, that their kids are somewhere that is safe, that's high quality, and that is really helping their kids to be better academic learners, and also to develop social emotional learning skills like character and grit. So expanded learning opportunities, otherwise known as ELOs, or after school and summer, you'll hear a few different things. We believe very strongly that there needs to be a link to learning. So for us, when we're working with programs, we're not necessarily just working with just sports or just a basketball program, and we're not talking about didactic summer school, so just strict credit retrieval. We're talking about something that looks different than the school day, and that really is bringing to life what kids are learning in the classroom and getting them really engaged in something that does look very different. So that could be anything from a robotics program to something that's culturally based, to anything that is really allowing them to have a link to learning, even if they don't realize they're learning. Which, if you sort of look back at your own favorite summer experience, you might not, at the time have really thought, I'm really learning this, but looking back as an adult, you might really see that, okay, that really helped me grow, that helped me grow as a person, and that's the experience that brought me to the career I'm in now. So we work with a lot of different types of adults and professionals. Community-based organizations are really the perfect partners to partner with school districts. They're often already in the building, they're often already in the community, particularly if we're talking about trying to reach kids of color and low-income kids. Community-based partners might be the best touch point for those kids and a great way to access them. So we really believe that expanded learning opportunities are a great vehicle for connecting districts with providers, and that really can wrap around and help kids in a way that we're not trying to compete with the school day, but that this is really another piece of the full education puzzle that keeps kids learning all day and all year. And when we say fun, we really do mean fun, that it should be linked to learning, but really focus on youth voice and choice, and getting kids interested in something, and something that they want to do, and something they want to come back to all day and all year. So on our next slide, we are going to let the kids explain to you what we mean by this.
All right, so you saw the SAS power there. And what's really interesting about that video, the whole video was actually storyboarded and developed, filmed, and completed by an after-school program here in Seattle called Real Girls, and included some clips from different programs. Hold just a moment. There we go. And was included the Boys and Girls Clubs of Lakewood, and also had pictures from different kinds of programs, including Skate Like a Girl here in Seattle, and several other in Yakima, summer learning sites up in Mount Vernon. So it really showed you kind of what is happening out there on the ground, which is why we love it so much. And it's because it was developed and done by youth. Makes it extra special to us, and shows you the really power that kids can learn different things like putting together and editing videos, as well as scripts. And all of this comes back to, well, you know, maybe you have experience with an after-school or summer program, or you've seen one, and some people might have noticed some are really good, and others maybe struggle to really draw out those outcomes. And that really, for us, comes down to quality. In order to be the best program you can be, and to see those academic and social emotional outcomes, quality really matters. So what do we mean by that? Well, there is a set of quality standards for after-school and youth development programs. And these are standards based on research, as well as input from providers from across the state as to what really makes a good, solid program. And there are 9 domains in here, and it's not necessarily about the kind of content you're delivering, or even necessarily who's doing the instruction, but it's about having really solid program behind you. So it's things like the youth-adult interaction and being very intentional about that. It also means youth voice and choice. Youth having input into their program actually makes for a quality program, because in order to achieve results, the kids have to be getting something out of it and be interested in it. It also means things like ensuring safety and having good sound fiscal management practices, amongst other sorts of things that make for a good quality program. Quality is measurable, and we actually use internal and external assessments with providers to make sure that there's continual quality improvement happening in programs. And again, it's malleable. The kids in front of you really matter, and how you conduct programming really matters. So cultural responsiveness is critical to having a high quality program. And actually all of the 9 domains include cultural responsiveness elements to them to ensure that the programs are meeting the needs of the youth in front of them. To that end, you know, how do we really improve quality, and how do we show quality? Right now, if you'll click one more time, we're working across the state. There's a map that will pop up. We're working across the state right now with a new initiative that's really aimed at developing what we're calling a quality seal. So once a program sort of meets some benchmarks, how do they show that they're good quality? And so we are testing out a quality seal with the University of Washington that is looking at those different elements, and at what point you kind of hit quality and that commitment to continuous quality improvement. And how do we have that seal be state sanctioned so that it gives some weight, and so that we can say to legislators, look, there is quality out there, and you guys should be helping fund that and funding kids to get into more programs. So we're working with the Department of Early Learning, OSPI, Child Care Aware, and the Rakes Foundation and University of Washington to help develop this seal. And you see there's different kind of providers that we're working with out there, including school-age child care, 21st Century, which is a federal pot of money that comes down to the state. About 18,000 kids are in the 21st Century Community Learning Center program, and then just other non-licensed out-of-school time programs like Real Girls, Skate Like a Girl, some of those other programs that are out there, but not necessarily under any jurisdiction. Because we want wherever kids are at, we want them to be in high-quality environments so that we see those outcomes. So you might now be saying, well, I want to plug in. Well, you have many opportunities to plug in to this effort, whether or not you or your child is in an expanded learning program, or whether your school district or not is connected. There are many ways to weigh in, as well as to help the effort to try and get more expanded learning opportunities. So the first one I'll briefly talk about is the Expanded Learning Opportunities Council. That is a council out of OSPI right now that is developing a set of recommendations on how do we grow expanded learning opportunities and help them improve quality and help districts think about expanded learning and how they can complement and add to what's happening during the day. There's another opportunity is the Washington After School Network. We're coming to a town near you. We already have meetings set up in Vancouver in November and Bellingham in December. And over the course of the next year, we'll be coming to other parts of the state to really get into the communities to talk about what providers need and what programs need, but also want to hear from communities and school districts about how we can support their efforts. And then there's the Expanded Learning Opportunities Coalition, which, if we go to the next slide, that's really a group of folks that is working in Olympia on how do we get the state to better engage on expanded learning and to connect everything that's happening, whether it's OSPI or the McCleary discussion, to supporting kids to get into high-quality expanded learning opportunities. So you see we have many partners there at the table with us, including Equity and Education Coalition, the League, of course, of Education Voters, Washington STEM, and many other partners at the table. But if any of you are interested in helping us with Olympia-based strategies, I hope you will please contact us. We would love to either have you join the coalition or have you on our action alert list as well as opportunities come up during session to really support programs and getting kids into high-quality programs. So there is something coming up, which is the next slide, which is kind of where the Washington After School Network, along with the Washington Expanded Learning Opportunities Council, are hosting a public forum on expanded learning. This is Thursday, October 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. Come for the dinner and the discussion. It will be at Highline Community College. And that's really an opportunity to hear more from parents, community members, and other stakeholders about how we can grow expanded learning opportunities. And we're going to take that information and incorporate that into the official recommendations from the ELO Council that they will hand over to the legislature. We're really trying to hear the best ways we can support kids in that after school and summer space. There's also an online survey as well where we're trying to solicit input from communities to really build a system of support for kids anywhere, anytime. That includes the school day and out of school time. So that will be at Highline College in Des Moines. But recognizing that many people in the state are not going to be able to get there that night, we do have other opportunities, and we want to hear from you. So with that, that sort of ends our formal presentation, and happy to, Stephanie and I are both here to take some questions.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie and David. We have some questions that have come in. I'm going to start with some of the easiest ones. So if anyone wants to visit or join the groups you talked about, how do they contact you?
That's a great question. And I think our contact information is at the end of the slide, but schools@washington.org. If you have questions about particular programs, we will do our best to answer that. And if you want to actually visit a program, we are also happy to help coordinate that as well, so you can see what it looks like on the ground. And our emails are on there, dbeard@schools.washington.org and slennon@schools.washington.org. So that's probably the easiest way, is just go on there. We are revamping our website right now, but you can go on there. There's a lot of information about program quality, about what to look for in a program, about the ways we're connecting, we meaning the field. All programs can or should be connecting to things like Common Core and supporting NGSS through programming, just to give you a tidbit of what's on our website, as well as I do want to mention our approach to racial equity. And the programs should not only be culturally responsive, but really helping promote racial equity principles and connecting to larger efforts, either in their community or statewide. So we also have information about that work on our website as well.
Thank you. That's important. Folks who are listening, remember you can use the chat feature to type in your question. There's no question that's too basic. One comment we had come in was that some people had trouble hearing the audio of the video, and so they were asking if we were going to post the video, and the answer is yes. We will be sending everybody the PowerPoint and we will have it posted on the previous LEVinar's page at educationvoters.org.
It's also on our website. Go to schools.washington.org and click Get Involved. It's the video at the top of that page.
So here's another question. So far, how are legislators responding to your ELO advocacy efforts?
It's a great question. We are really trying to build legislative champions around this issue. As you know, I'm sure as everyone knows right now, we have a McCleary challenge, and there are some legislators that take a broad view of that, of really how do we get kids, how do we become outcome-based in how we think about that. And part of that solution is more funding for schools and making sure the right teachers are with the right students. There's all sorts of issues in that arena, but that includes things like expanded learning opportunities and other support services for kids. If we're really going to get kids to the finish line of graduation and on a path to success, we're going to need multiple ways to engage them and work with them. So I think there are a few legislators that get that, and many more that need much more information and, dare I say, convincing that not all the solutions are not either just in a classroom, and that all solutions are not sort of limited in some box, that we really need to think about outside of the box and how we engage folks. So we've had, again, a few folks there, but we really need all of your help to really get them to see the promise of high-quality expanded learning as being one of those mechanisms that can really change outcomes for kids. I'll take a personal moment real quick, just around, even for myself, I was in a really great after-school program senior year, and until that happened, it was a leadership focus. I didn't think college was really an option for me, and I really didn't think that I could really use my voice, and this program turned that totally around, and that's a very personal story, and think about how many more stories we could have if more kids had these opportunities.
So given that your story, besides McCleary, what are the challenges to, it seems so obvious to me in your presentation that this is a great add-on, and not add-on, but that this is the only solution to improving outcomes for all students. So that this has to be part of the solution. What are the challenges to getting there?
I think the challenges are districts don't necessarily see themselves as owning this, and school systems don't see this necessarily as a part of what they do. But that to me is a system problem. If we're child and youth focused, then wherever kids are at, that we should all be meeting these goals together to get kids those academic and social emotional outcomes. So there's not going to be one strategy to get there. We're going to need multiple strategies and multiple adults that are working with youth to get kids there. And so part of my job at Schools at Washington, and we would love help wherever we can get it, is really breaking open that thinking about where kids learn, how kids learn, and all the different tools we have. We're just not using them all. So let's use them and use them in a good, high-quality way, but let's use them.
So you're saying that this is a partnership between the district, the providers, the youth themselves?
Absolutely.
Sounds like state and federal government.
And local.
And
local, whether it's local levies or here in King County, Best Starts for Kids includes out-of-school time package in it, which is great. Here in the city of Seattle, they have Families and Education Levy that's supporting programs. It really is, partnership is absolutely the key in making more of these great expanded learning opportunities available for kids.
We have time to take a couple of more questions, so please type them in, but probably at most 2. But go ahead and send them in. I'm going to answer one right now. Are there any specific ELO programs that are more effective than others?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about with quality and youth voice and choice and all of those pieces. There's so many different kinds of ELO programs that, if you have a kid in front of you that's interested and they feel engaged and they feel like they're getting to learn in a different way and they're doing something really excited, that's what's really effective, is just being able to, have a kid in a high quality environment that is really helping that specific child where they're at. We had one young man this past summer who was doing a robotics program with us who really struggled in school, is very smart, but has Asperger's syndrome, and he was just really having a really hard time in school and really having a hard time socially fitting in with his peers, and he ended up being the kid that wrote the code for this robotics competition that actually won in the state and then went on to be the base of a code for the entire state competing nationally. And he was so excited about it and even was able to talk to a reporter at the final competition and really, sort of changed his view on things because he was in a high-quality program that was really getting to him and allowing him to be different and to be himself and to learn in the way he needed to learn and showing him that he could be empowered and have that voice. So I think, things like that are really what matters more than, the specific program, because it's going to be different for every kid.
Seeing no additional questions, I think that, Stephanie, was an awesome way for us to close out, because it's a reminder for those of us who have the opportunity to have our family and friends in after-school programs, how important it is for all children to have access to those types of environments, that we all know that it's enrichment and part of our family and community belief system. So thank you so much for the work that you do at SAWA. It is so important. And is there...
We just have one more. Just also want to highlight the national conference on after school and summer learning is coming to Seattle October 24th to the 26th. And it's meant for everyone from educators to advocates to other education stakeholders. So check that out, summerlearning.org/conference. And so is hosting that with the National Summer Learning Association this year. So just before we leave, wanted to make a little plug.
Love the title.
That's right.
And so we'll just close out. The very last slide has our contact information.
Okay.
So feel free to reach out to either of us. We'd love to talk to you.
So thank you so much, David and Stephanie. This was really useful and helpful for our listeners and watchers. So our next webinar will be an overview of the roles and responsibilities of the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. I don't know about you guys, but I am vague on what OSPI superintendent does. So I personally am going to find this particularly interesting. It's a subject I do not know enough about. So I invite you to join us on Tuesday, October 18th at 12:30, the normal time. We will, of course, be sending out messages, and we will also have it on our website. Thank you so much, and enjoy the day.